Hello, my friends, Takuya here, and welcome back to the History of Everything podcast YouTube channel. You know, there is one day a year where everyone gets to be the absolute worst friend or family member ever. A day where trust seems to just magically go out the window and everything is free game. A day where pranking people isn't only encouraged, it's something to be praised. It's a good thing. I am sure that the majority of you that are watching this are familiar with April Fool's Day, April 1st. But a question that some people might ask, well, I don't actually know if they ask this. I guess that's the whole point of me trying to make this video, to see if there are people that are asking this, is why does April Fool's Day exist? Why is that even a thing? It seems like a really weird thing to have as a holiday. Well, I'm going to answer the question immediately, and it's not going to be something that you're going to be satisfied with. We don't really know for sure. That's it. That's the truth of it. We don't know. All we really know is that the custom was known in Renaissance Europe, but besides that, we don't really know any hard details. All we can say is that it probably does have some older roots, and, well, let's go ahead and get into those stories. So some historians have the idea that April Fool's Day goes all the way back to an ancient Roman festival called Hilaria, which is honestly a bit of a hilarious name to me. It kind of does fit. This is something that was a celebration of the spring equinox, and at the time, this festival began on March 25th. So the Romans called the 25th the 8th calends of April, which strongly then associates it with April 1st. Now the thing is, there is no actual evidence that connects Hilaria with April Fool's Day. This is something that is either just a coincidence, or at the very least, we just don't have any actual evidence that shows this. This is just one of many educated guesses. Another common theory that places the origin of April Fool's Day back in the Roman Empire dates it to the reign of Emperor Constantine. So the idea behind this, and you can probably see this image behind me right here, and you're wondering what the hell is going on, is that according to the story, there was a group of jesters that managed to convince Constantine to coronate one of them as king for a day. Constantine actually went and obliged this, and then once he did so, appointing a man called Kugel to the position, Kugel then decided to go and make the day a holiday, something to be celebrated as a day of humor. And that is the origin of April Fool's Day. The only problem with this whole story, though, is that it's complete and utter BS. You see, the really ironic part about that whole thing is that that story itself was actually something that turned out to be an April Fool's prank. It was something that was pulled by this Boston University professor by the name of Joseph Boskin on an Associated Press reporter by the name of Fred Bales back in 1983. Bales actually went and reported the story, and the Associated Press just ran with it, only to have to then retract it some days later because, again, the whole thing was fake. Good times! Some other suggested origins include the Roman holiday of Saturnalia, Druidic rites that you would see in Britain, the more carnivalesque, crazy holidays and festivals that you would see in, like, medieval Europe. But to be honest, the most likely story that could possibly contain even a shred of truth isn't really something that started to occur or be documented until going into the later parts of the medieval age. You see, back in France, there is something called Poisson d'Avril, which I know that I'm probably saying that wrong, but it's I can't speak French, okay? I know that I can't speak French, but the idea of this is that it means April fish, and this is the name for a person that gets duped on April Fool's Day. The first reference to Poisson d'Avril is from a 1508 poem by a person named Eloy de Amerval called Le Livre de la Diable, or The Book of Devilry. However, in this context, we can't actually be sure if the author was referring to April 1st or to just being a fool in general. But either way, it is a tradition in France to honor the history of this by putting pictures of dead fish on people's backs. Like the French equivalent of a kick-me sign that you would tape to someone's back as a method of bullying in like middle school or elementary school or something like that. Yeah, they would do it, but with a dead fish, or a picture of one at least. There are even more possible French origins, though. Charles Panatti's Extraordinary Origins of Everyday Things cites another 16th century example as, well, another possibility. So in 1564, when the celebration of New Year was officially moved from January 1st by Charles IX's Edict of Roussillon, according to Panatti, the New Year had previously been celebrated on March 25th because of the advent of spring, with a week-long observance then ending on April 1st. It is said that many Frenchmen who resisted the change and others who merely forgot about it continued partying and exchanging gifts during the week ending on April 1st. So then what would happen is that the people who were adhering to the new date would play pranks on the people who were not, like these old conservatives, by doing things like inviting them to fake celebrations and parties and all different kinds of things, only for them to show up and there was no one there. That being said, the real observance of what New Year's Day was in France is still something that is way more complex because there was different regions all across France that would celebrate it at different times, so this origin is also, again, a little bit murky. Another commonly heard explanation is that this change occurred as a result of the switch from the Julian calendar to the Gregorian calendar, which France had adopted in 1582, but that also then doesn't explain the origin and why people had things that could be similar in England when they didn't switch to the Gregorian calendar until going into the 1700s. Regardless of how it got started, though, people love it all over the world now at this point, though definitely it is more common in Western countries. And among that, even corporations are getting involved in it now. It's not just people. I mean, seriously, back in 1954, there was a British newspaper that reported about Italian farmers having a bumper crop of spaghetti noodles, complete with all kinds of faked and doctored images of farmers harvesting the spaghetti. This same kind of prank has been done multiple times, and I don't know why people would keep on buying into it. Back in the year 1992, NPR caused a lot of serious concern and for people to wonder what the hell was going on when they told the American public that, Richard Nixon was coming back. He was going to be running for president again. In 1996, Taco Bell freaked everyone out in America by telling people that they had just managed to buy the Liberty Bell and that they were going to change the name of the Liberty Bell to the Taco Liberty Bell. Which, I'll be honest, I think that they could do it. I think that's a great investment idea. Hell, Burger King has done things like telling people that they managed to make a left-handed Whopper. You know, it was good. It was good for people who were going to eat a burger with their left hand on a round burger with no sides. Not exactly sure how that one would work. Or hell, even Google did something when they introduced something called Google Wind, which was something that was powered by windmills and apparently had the power to control the weather. Which, I mean, I guess is a prank, but I genuinely believe that if Google put its mind to it, it would be able to control the weather. It's Google. Either way, regardless of its origin, millions of people all around the world celebrate April Fool's Day every single year. As for what its actual origin is, we don't necessarily know, but these are just some of the stories for how it got to be the way that it is today. So hey, at least next time that someone goes, "It's just a prank, bro," then before you punch them in the face, at least you might have an understanding of where this whole thing came from. Everyone, this has been Stakuyi with the History of Everything podcast YouTube channel. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have a good rest of your day. Goodbye, everyone.